Hey, this is Molly McCleary, and today I'm going to lecture on Jason, Medea, and the Argonauts in their quest for the Golden Fleece. I will be focusing on the section of the myth after they have obtained the Golden Fleece and are attempting to get back to Iolcus. I'll be drawing from the myth principally from these two sources: Medea by Euripides, which was produced in 431 BCE at the festival of Dionysus in Athens, because Euripides was an Athenian playwright. We know that Medea was produced with Philoctetes, Dictys, and Theresidae being a satyr play. However, these three have been lost, so Medea is the only extant work of this set. The Argonautica is a later work by Apollonius Rhodius. The author, Apollonius, is believed to have been born in Alexandria. He served for a time at the Library of Alexandria, and then was exiled actually because of the Argonautica, and moved to Rhodes where he revised it. So he was probably very familiar with the Odyssey and the Iliad, because the Library of Alexandria was responsible for dividing the Iliad and the Odyssey into books based on the scrolls. So it's very likely that Apollonius was very familiar with these texts, and it would have been a huge influence on him as he decided to write his own epic. So, just for a sense of geography, Alexandria is on the bottom of your screen here, and Rhodes is up at the top where the dropped A is. So, with that, let's get started. So we will be starting from point 13, which is on the right of your screen. Kind of, I guess. I mean, yes, from 13. Great, so I guess we'll do a brief summary. Jason and the Argonauts are seeking the Golden Fleece because Jason is the rightful heir to the throne of Iolcus, which is pretty much dead in the middle of your screen there. So Jason and the Argonauts have been sent on this journey because Jason's uncle Peleus has usurped his Jason's throne and sent him on this journey to get the Golden Fleece. So they have gone on this adventure, and they got to Colchis, which is where King Aeetes reigns, and he has the Golden Fleece. Aeetes challenges it, Jason to complete 3 tasks, and if he completes them, then he will give him the Golden Fleece, thinking that these tasks are impossible. Hera very much wants Jason to succeed, so she convinces Aphrodite to have Eros cause Medea, who is a daughter of Aeetes, to fall in love with Jason and therefore help him to complete the tasks. So Medea is a young girl, and she is skilled with potions and some kind of magic spells. So she assists Jason in completing these tasks, and it becomes clear after he completes the final task that one of Aeetes' daughters has been helping Jason to complete them, because there's no way that he could do it without their assistance. So Medea fears that she's going to be found out and flees with Jason after helping him get the fleece. So this is where we're going to pick up. So Jason and Medea board the Argo with the rest of the Argonauts, and they are fleeing away from Colchis because Aeetes, one, it did not want them to take the fleece and was trying to devise a way to avoid giving it to him, and 2, is very angry that Medea has been kidnapped. So he sends 2 fleets after them. The first is led by his son Apsyrtus, and the second is led by an unnamed person. So the two fleets split off to try and corner Jason, and eventually Apsyrtus's fleet corners Jason and the Argo at point 14 on your map. So at this point, Jason and Apsyrtus reach an agreement and say that Jason can keep the fleece because it was promised to him, but they will have to go to a neighboring power, and they will that neighboring power will decide whether Medea comes back to Colchis with Apsyrtus or whether she continues on with Jason. So Medea is very angry about this. She has agreed to go with Jason because she fears that her father will be extremely angry with her and will probably kill her, and Jason has promised that he will marry her. So when she finds out that he's struck this deal with Apsyrtus, she's incredibly angry, and she said, and I'm gonna read a little bit here. She says, "What, son of Aeson, is this plan that you have devised about me? Has your success made you completely forgetful? Do you care nothing for all you said when hard pressed by necessity? Where are your oaths by Zeus, protector of suppliants? Where have all the sweet promises gone? It was these which made me abandon my homeland, the reputation of my house, and even my parents, everything which was most important to me. This is not how I should have behaved, from shameless desire. Far from my home I drift alone over the sea with the gloomy halcyons, all because of your sufferings, because I wanted you in safety to complete the tasks of the bulls and the earthborn. Last of all, when my help was no longer a secret, my mad folly even won you the fleece, and I poured deadly shame over all women. For this I tell you that I will follow you to the land of Hellas, as your daughter, wife, and sister, and everything. Now protect me willingly. Do not leave me bereft and far away as you pay court to kings, but defend me come what may. Consider the agreement and the sacred accord to which we both pledged ourselves valid forever." So this is a fascinating excerpt. She goes on to convince him to kill Apsyrtus, and so that they may escape, because the Chalcidians will be without a leader. So they lure him to the Temple of Artemis, because she says she wants to speak to him, and Jason kills him. Medea does not do this herself because that would be killing a blood relative, so Jason does it in her stead, and he takes a number of measures to cleanse himself of this vicious murder, and he dismembers him and buries him. So there are a number of interesting things here. One of them being that this causes Zeus to be incredibly angry for this vicious murder, and he will now do a lot to make sure that their journey back to Iolcus will not be a fast one. The other thing that we see here is Medea and her cunning. So I think that this is one of the reasons that I think that that Apollonius was heavily influenced by Euripides, because I think that it was very difficult for him to reconcile. Well, I think that he would have read Euripides' Medea, and because he would have probably had access to it at the Library of Alexandria. I think also that I think he was very heavily influenced by her cunning in that retelling. So he had to find a way to reconcile this she's not a little girl, but this woman who appears to be extremely virginal, and really is bewitched into falling in love with this man, and how she is transformed into this very cunning, deceitful woman that we see manipulating everyone. So I think this is interesting because it shows a really interesting parallel between this this interaction here that she has with Jason, and then the subsequent interaction she has years later in Corinth, when she is extremely angry with him for leaving her and marrying Creusa. So I think it's interesting because there are a lot of parallels between the section that I read and the talk about he's breaking a vow, and how she's in exile, and how she did all these things for him. It's interesting to read this here and then to go back and look at the Euripides, which is extremely similar. So that's interesting. This point also represents a deviation from other versions of the myth, which are very interesting. In other versions of the myth, the fleet from Colchis is not divided, but somehow Medea manages to lure Apsyrtus onto her ship, and Jason kills him and then dismembers him for the purpose of dropping body parts into the water that Aeetes will stop to pick up, because it's very important in Greek religious life that bodies receive a proper burial, which is something that we've seen all through CLAS, such as which is something we've also seen in Antigone. So that's an interesting deviation, which means this Apollonius' decision to do that means that we will meet the other half of the fleet later in Phaeacia. So that was a long tangent. We're back. Okay, so the Argonauts continue to try to evade the fleet, and they find themselves at Circe's Island, where Medea and Jason go to be kind of have their sins cleansed. So this is an interesting scene because this is where we see more of Medea's cunning and her treachery, because Circe is the sister of Aeetes, her father, and is therefore Medea's aunt, because Circe's a goddess, and they're all descended from Helios, who is Aeetes and Circe's father. It's very interesting because Medea realizes that they're related, and so she doesn't want to talk openly of the deceit of her father, so she manages to omit that from her story, and Circe sees right through it. An important thing that happens in this section is that we continue to see the interaction of the gods. Hera comes in here and talks. This is, I think, very much due to the influence of Homer, because the very active involvement of the gods is very Homeric. So we see Hera come in, and she has this conversation with Thetis, and tells her that Thetis' son Achilles will marry Medea in the Elysian Fields, since Medea is descended from Helios, who is a god, and Achilles is descended from Thetis, who is a god. They will both, when they die, go to the Elysian Fields. And brokers this deal, very, very Homeric, in which she says that Thetis should help Medea and Jason find their way home. So Thetis agrees to this, and so the Argonauts leave Circe's Island and are going past the Sirens. So we see here the second place that is also in the Odyssey, the Sirens and Circe. This time, so it's interesting. It would be interesting to go back and compare the differences between the journeys and their experiences at these places. But Anyway, so